Recording in progress.
Yes, team. So welcome to today's Mindset Masterclass training. And as I said, what will be the last mindset session from this office. So you guys know I always like to start with a little story. And I think something that I've realized in the last, what's it been now, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, is we always think when things happen, it's the end of the world, or it's chaos, or it's a crisis, because it's how we perceive the situation and we don't step back and rationalize it. So this house situation is a perfect example from 8 weeks ago, it being kind of an absolute disaster for me. I was all over the shop. I was stressed into the middle of next week. I need to find somewhere to live. Everything, your mind going into overdrive, right? About even silly things like the internet, cancelling the internet, starting a new internet, old bills, new bills, moving, when we're going to move, how it's going to affect work, and everything in between that even came after the job of actually having to find somewhere. So it was like, felt like, not the end, that's a bit too much, isn't it? But it felt like an absolute car crash disaster of just another huge curveball that was going to be very difficult to handle and was going to cause absolute chaos. Yet here we are, 8 weeks on, and it will all have been handled. Now, I'm even going to go through a closer real world example before we get on to today's training, which is how we turn frustration into fearlessness. How we turn frustration into fearlessness, and some different levels of learning, which I'm going to teach you how to apply. So let's now fast forward to the last week. So even going into the end of last week, right, my mind was going into hyperdrive. Like I think what you guys saw, I did 96 miles last week, I think. A very, very, very hard training week. And then my head's going, oh my God, then we've got the people starting on the new challenge. We've got the people ending the existing challenge in 10 days. I'm moving house. I had a night out in Leeds at the weekend to see some old friends. It's Logan's Easter Bunny Parade tomorrow. I need to move house. I've still got all my runs to do this week. I've got people coming to get the sofa. Need to get all these, like, so much stuff, right? And I was like, I physically cannot cope. Like, how have I managed to get myself into a situation where in the space of 2 weeks, there's a weekend away, which I didn't consider the dates because the other things hadn't happened at the time. Then there's all the running. Then there's the ultra. Then there's Logan's school commitments. Then there's moving house. Then there's getting out of this house, getting settled into the new house. Then there's new starters. Then there's people ending a plan. Then there's all this stuff, as well as remortgaging one house, moving house, selling a house, and going through all the forms of renting the new one and everything else in between. Like, how have I ended up with this all happening within a 2-week period? Like, full blown on the edge of a meltdown. What's going to be the reality on Monday? Everything will be handled. Everything will have been done. And I think that's such an important thing that I want you guys to take away. Whenever you feel like everything's getting on top, it's what we're going to come on to in the training. Everything's too much. I can't cope. There's too much going on. There's too many things in every day. I'm overwhelmed. I'm stressed. I'm anxious. How on earth is one human supposed to make all this stuff happen on their own in a 2-week period? When sometimes the way you can pacify this is, well, It all has to happen and it has to be done. All of those things have to happen and has to be done. The house move has to happen. The remortgage has to happen. The house sale has to happen. The tenants moving out of the old property needs to happen. Everything with Logan needs to happen. The runs need to happen. The night out needed to happen. All of these things have to happen. And Ultra on Saturday has to happen and everything in between. And the reality is, by Monday, it will all have happened. So the whole white heat of stress that was caused whilst waiting for it to happen, yes, things can be very tough at the time. And this is when you might fall into, I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed, I want to give up, I need to quit, I haven't got the headspace. Right, what can I get rid of? Well, I can get rid of tracking food. Right, I can get rid of training. Right, I can get rid of mindset work. Right, I can get rid of that night out in Leeds. Right, I can get rid of doing my runs this week. Right, I can say, do you know what? I'm not going to do the ultra this weekend. I'm not going to do the ultra the weekend after. Do you know what? I'm going to put this back. I'm going to put that back. I can't cope. I don't have the headspace. And this is what people do, and then they run away and they hide because the pressure gets too much. When the reality is, when you just push through the pressure and you push through the challenge, everything is going to be and has been handled by the middle of next week. The house will be sold. I will have moved. This place won't even exist anymore. It is going to be a little bit glitchy, guys. I'm having to hotspot it. The internet's gone here already, and then it's 24 hours before it kicks in at the new house. So apologies if it is a little bit glitchy. The recording won't be. So how do we turn this frustration, this stress, this anxiety, this worry, and all of these things that we all experience every day, either as business owners, as parents, or just humans that face challenge as we all do on a daily basis? How do we turn this frustration, stress, and anxiety into fearlessness? Well, first of all, we're going to look at why so many people quit. Drop me a yes if you've quit at something before. You've quit applying for a job. You've quit a fitness plan. You've quit tracking food. You've quit going to the gym. You've quit working on yourself. You've quit everything because it all got too much. It was causing too much overwhelm. You didn't have the headspace. It's scary when people say to me all the time, I'm not going to sign up just yet because I haven't got the headspace. And I'll always say, how would you know you had the headspace? If you haven't got the headspace for getting health, and if you haven't got the headspace for getting fit and healthy and working on yourself mentally and physically, what is it that you do have the headspace for? What are the things in your head that you're prioritizing over your health and mindset? Are you basically being a fucking whiny little bitch who wants to sit there and moan about everything in life? What I'm going to do is, all these things have happened and they're all stressing me out and they're making me really anxious. So rather than doing something that's going to make me feel better, I'm going to sit here and sulk. I've got the headspace for sulking. I've got the headspace for moaning. I've got the headspace for blaming. I've got the headspace for stress, anxiety, worry, grief. I've got the headspace for all of these things, but I don't have the headspace for doing something that's going to make me feel better. It's mind-blowingly dumb, isn't it, when you think about it? Yet we all do it. So I get it. I've got the headspace to sit here and worry and stress and, ring my friend up and let's put the world to rights and let's talk about everything for hours and hours and hours, but I don't have the headspace to go to the gym. Bullshit, isn't it? So the biggest thing is when people quit as well, and this is what I want you to take away. Quickest way to get where you want to go is to stop quitting, by the way. Probably one of the best lines I've ever heard. Quickest way to get what you want is to stop stopping. Quickest way to move forward is to stop giving up. Quickest way to excel in life and succeed is to stop quitting when things get tough. So the most common cause, who knows what the most common cause of people quitting is? What's the most common cause why we give up? What's the most common cause why we stop doing something that was positive? why we go back to the old habits, why we go back to our old reasoning. The most common cause, there are several. Yeah, very much. One is that you're a pussy and you don't want to do the work. Sometimes lazy. Some is it gets too tough and you want to avoid the discomfort and go back to the comfortable life. Go back to easy. Go back to your old peer group. Those of you that are thinking of leaving now because it's getting too tough and I'm holding you to accountable. Those of you who have left the WhatsApp group because it's triggering you because you're doing fuck all and people triggering you, people doing the work is actually pissing you off because no doubt you don't have the headspace to do the work, but you have the headspace to moan, blame, complain and justify and ask stupid questions. It's easier to go back, reliant on motivation, not as strong enough why, fear, all of these are brilliant answers, but none of them are the answer of the top one. The biggest reason people have the habit of quitting is temporary defeat, temporary setback, temporary challenge, and temporary failure. We fail temporarily. We don't get what we want straight away. We didn't get there as easy as we wanted to. Look at me as a perfect example. When I tore my Achilles and didn't do 100 miles and had to go on national fucking TV and say, I didn't do it. I didn't win. I didn't complete it. How easy would it have been for me to quit? How easy would it have been to go, this ultra running's not for me. This raising money for charity is not for me. This doing things that make other people believe that if I can, they can too, it's not for me. It's cold, it's wet. I'm just going to go back to lifting weights 3 times a week. How easy would it have been for me not to set a new bar after running 103 miles? Easy, easy, easy. Because we quit after failing. Because we don't like the emotions that we experience. It's why so many people start a business and it doesn't succeed within 6 months, or they have a setback, so they quit. They have a challenge, so they quit. They have an injury, so they quit. They have a bad weekend. That's probably the most real example. Do you know how many people are doing so well with their fitness, nutrition and food, and then they decide that they're not going to drink and they don't want to eat shit at the weekend, and then the weekend comes and they eat shit and they drink, so they've failed, so they quit. Temporary failure is the biggest reason why people quit, because they don't like the way it makes them feel. So I'm going to tell you a very old story, and this is how old this is. All this personal development stuff I'm teaching you guys isn't new. Many of it is from 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. So the uncle of a man called R.U. Darby, one of the very famous stories in Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, which, as I've told you, is the most famous personal development book of all time. It sold over 15 million copies. If you haven't read it, you should read it. Even people on the level of Peter Sage, who's my current mentor, will class that as the book that changed his life. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. So he tells a story called 3 Feet from Gold. So R.U. Darby and his uncle started out looking for gold on a mission with a pick and an axe. No machinery, just a pick and an axe. And it was tough going. But their passion to find the gold kept it alive. And they kept digging and digging and digging and digging until they eventually found the edge of some gold. Knowing that they could now see the gold, they could see the goal as well as the gold, they invested in the machinery. And they drilled and they drilled and they drilled and they days and days and days and days and days, and then the gold ran out. It was only a small amount of gold. It wasn't the gold they thought it was going to be. So they drilled and they drilled and they drilled and they drilled. And eventually they quit because it got too tough. It wasn't the outcome they expected. They thought they'd found gold and they hadn't. So they went and sold all the machinery to a very, very wise, intelligent scrapman who took the machinery back, got some expert advice on fault lines, and found out the reason they hadn't found the gold was because they were drilling 3 feet from the fault line of where they needed to be. This man drilled down and took all the gold and made multiple millions of pounds. So the story is they quit when they were 3 feet from gold. That's it. All those weeks and months and days, they got so close, and then they saw temporary failure, so they quit. But we have to understand we're always going to meet temporary failure. Whether it's our relationships, our careers, our businesses, our bodies, our challenges, it's never ever going to be a straight line to success. Yet so many people, when they hit the bend in the river, they decide to get out. And then they go and sit back on the sidelines watching the people in the river moaning and bitching about the people that are swimming around the bends. Now, the said 2 people actually went away and did another business and became multi-millionaires also. So they didn't really quit. They didn't get it the first time with the gold, but they took the lesson away and learned not to quit next time when it got tough. So I get it. We all get it. And this is why I say we have to prepare for the challenge and the failure and understand how to go through it. I am fully prepared to not complete 200 miles. Do I believe I will complete it? Yes. Do I know hand on heart I'll do everything I can to achieve it? Yes. Is there a chance on that day that the body will just say no, that an injury will happen, that the weather could be horrific? I don't know. There are variables that I can't control. But I know even if I get 172 miles and can't do it, I will complete the challenge again because I now understand this process. But that will be hard. Do you know how hard it was to fail on 89 miles and then think I've now got to retrain for 6 months, heal a ripped Achilles and go back and do the 100 miles? But look what happened as a result of it. Incredible things. What else happened? Without that, I probably wouldn't have had the relationship I do with Jason because I would have completed it and not had that next challenge in place. There's always a gift. There's always an opportunity. This time next week, I'm going to be living in a nicer house that I like more, that's better for Logan. There's always a gift and a lesson in the challenge as well. But I get it, right? We all get frustrated. Work gets tough. Training gets tough. Life gets tough. Business gets tough. Life gets tough. But this is when we start to rationalize things. We start to talk shit in our own head. We start to make excuses. Oh, it's not for me. It's not for me, that tracking calories. It doesn't really work. It's not for me, that Lee Freeman plan. I thought he was going to come and do the exercise for me. It's not for me going to the gym. Oh, this personal development, self-help stuff. Oh no, that's not for me, that. I much prefer depression, anxiety and stress because it's easier. So much easier to sit here fucking moaning than it is to get up and start working on myself so that I have a happier life so I don't moan. Classic fat person who then decides, do you know what? It's not for me, this fat loss stuff. I mean, I know I'm fucking miserable every fucking day as a result of being 5 stone overweight, but it's just not for me. I've decided I'm happy as I am. Yeah, of course you fucking are. Rationalization. Bullshit. Excuses. I'll rationalize it in my head. I'm happy as I am, so I don't have to do the work. If you're happy as you are, go back and read your questionnaire. Go back and read your questionnaire that you submitted. Go back and read the message that you sent me when you told me about how down and depressed you were apart from you because of your weight. We all do it. I do it. Start convincing myself to play small. I don't want to grow this business anymore. I'm happy with 80 clients. I don't want a bigger house. I'm happy where I am. I don't want that car. I'm happy. I'm just happy as I am. No, I'm quantifying, avoiding doing the work when it gets tough. So again, I do it. So don't get triggered by being called out because I do what you do. And then we start to even quantify it with more bullcrap. Don't think I'm cut out for this coaching lark. I don't understand social media. Sick of doing Instagram reels. I hate it. I'm a coach. I'm a coach, not a content creator. Oh, I'm sick of everything being so up and down. One client comes in, one client goes. I'm just going to get a job. At least then I know what my wage is every week rather than it being up and down. Quantify it. I'm happy as I am. I'm not good enough. And we're back to what we're going to be coming on to next week, which is human behaviour and our human needs. We quit because it triggers our innermost fear. What's our innermost fear? If you don't know this by now, you haven't been listening. All of our innermost fear is that we're not enough. We're not good enough. We're not clever enough. We're not tall enough. We're not smart enough. We're not young enough. Well, I'm here to tell you, you are. You are fucking good enough. You're good enough in every single way. You were born good enough. You were born a winner. If you weren't a born winner, you wouldn't be watching this. If you weren't a born winner, you wouldn't have been born. Because you were the winning sperm against 400 million other sperms. You were the winning shag. You made it. They didn't. You're here. They're not. You're good enough. Trust me. But this is the other crap that people come out with. They think it's different for other people. Trust me, anyone who's further along in life than you and has what you want has worked harder for longer and stopped quitting when it got tough. Any of my mentors are no better than me. Paul Moore is not better than me. Sorry, Paul. Peter Sage is not better than me. Sorry, Peter. David Goggins is not better than me. Sorry, David. Big claims, right? Big fucking claims. They've all been working a lot harder for a lot longer and they haven't quit when it got tough. And their habits have been better. And their behaviour's been better. And they've educated themselves more. But, again, what a line that is. It's one of my favourite ever lines. Every single black belt is a white belt who just refused to quit. That's it. People weren't born white belts or black belts. Everyone was born a white belt. But again, this is what people do. I'm just going to take some time out. I'm just going to have a bit of a reset. I'm just going to have a bit of time off. I'm just going to do my own thing for, it's what people say when they leave. I'm just going to do my own thing for a few weeks. No, you're fucking lying. Be honest with yourself. Take ownership and responsibility. What you mean is, the heat in the kitchen's getting too tough, so I'm going to run away and hide where nobody holds me accountable. I'm going to go back to choosing Netflix over the gym. I'm going to go back to choosing chippy teas over chicken sandwiches. I'm going to go back to choosing Netflix over personal development. I'm going to go back to choosing the pub and the cocaine over quiet weekends because it's easier. You're not really taking a break. You're not quitting. You're not pausing. Sorry, you are quitting. You're not taking a break. You're not resetting. You're not having time off to get some balance. You're quitting and finding a way to quantify it. And if you're a quitter, you'll never win because quitters never win and winners never quit. And this is what happens when people leave Unbreakable. They lose the peer group. They lose the accountability. Everyone goes backwards. That's why some of you are here for the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th time. That's why Lee Newell's been here 10 years. And they quit and they leave and I don't want to spend the money because I can invest it on booze instead or holidays or material things that won't make me happy. And then no one's going to call me out and I don't have to track my food anymore and I don't have to do my check-in and I don't have to do my photos and I don't have to do my mindset stuff. I don't get these annoying texts in the WhatsApp group every day that remind me that I should be doing the work. And I'll just go back to my old self. Backwards. back, back, back. Who wants to go backwards? Not me. Until what happens? They hit rock bottom. The weight comes back on. They start boozing. They start sniffing. Start making excuses. Stop doing the work. Stop doing the mindset. Start experiencing the emotions again. Depression, anxiety, weight gain, stress, worry, negative peer group, poor environment. And then they need help, so they come back again. Don't fall into that trap. Quickest way to succeed is stop quitting when it gets tough. So when we're doing new things and we're finding it hard, I know it's hard for you guys sometimes. It was hard for me too. So how do we turn this frustration of failure, this frustration of quitting, this frustration of not getting where we want as fast as we can? Because as humans, we're born to want stuff instantly. How do we turn this frustration into fearlessness? Now, I don't think you are going to be expecting me to come out with this. But it comes down to learning how to learn. And what is learning? Accepting the lesson, accepting the gift. And I'm going to be going quite hard on this as well. I'm not going to discuss this publicly, but schools annoy me at the moment, I'll be honest. They're not breeding people that are going to be successful. We're going to school for long periods to memorize things, to learn how to pass a test. That's what I believe a lot of schooling is about. But I'm not going to go on a rant on that one. Years and years and years. It's so outdated now, the school system. Years and years and years of learning shit that you don't need, memorizing shit that you don't need in order to pass a test. But we very often have the desire to want the things we want, but we don't have the education. But we need to understand what education is. And again, we can go full circle on this because very often we know that we want to, but we don't know how to. This is why I did the hot pen technique with you guys at Mindset Mastery. I will be uploading that training this week, one at a time. All of my full sessions were recorded, so you're going to get them to rewatch. This is why we do it, to bypass the bullshit. Because you know what you want, you just don't know how to get it. So you get lost in that. I want that, but I don't know how to get it, so I won't even try. But sometimes you don't even need to know how to. You just need to know that you want it, because otherwise you'll never even take action. So the desire has to come first. And if you know what you want, but you don't know how to get it, there's always somebody that will teach you. There's always someone who you can learn from. Russell Brunson talks all the time about you don't need to know how. You need to find the who, not the how. Who can teach me? Who can help me? If you are willing to ask for help. So, as we've said again, we need information, but implementation is key. Millions and millions and millions of pounds are wasted on programs, courses, and schooling where the client or the mentee or the pupil doesn't do anything apart from gather information. How many of you are currently using what you learned in history at school? How many of you are currently practicing French, German, humanitarian studies, or whatever it was called? Why do we need to learn geography if we're not a geologist? You know, yes, there's structure. Yes, there's learning. Yes, there's maths and English. And yes, there's things that are important. Turning up on time, being punctual. But a lot of things, people are just gathering information that they don't need and that they're never going to use. This will all make sense when I come round. So let's now relate this back, right? We want results, don't we? Not information. We want results, progress, success, fulfillment. Yet so many people get all of this education and never use it. They never apply it. They just, do you know how many absolutely so poor and unhappy, hyper intelligent people there are that just gather and gather and gather information and never do anything with it? Now, self-education is key. Educating yourself on what you need to do to get where you want, not being told. But implementation is critical. If you want to lose body fat, you need a certain amount of self-education. If you want to run a business, you need a certain amount of self-education. If you wanted to speak French, you're going to have to learn how to speak French. But again, unless you're implementing the knowledge that's learned, it's useless. Now, I believe each of you was born to live your dream. Born to do what you're passionate about. Born to live the fulfilling life you all deserve. The things that make you feel creative. The things that inspire you. The things that make you feel like it's not a job or learning because you love it. Not being forced to do things that you don't want to do in order to learn skills and get things that you're never going to need and you don't even enjoy. How is that ever going to create positive energy? And you know, like I said, this is what schools and universities, I believe, do now. They teach you how to turn up on time. Well done. You know, they teach you how to pass a test that you're never going to use. It's the old adage, isn't it? Even with learning to drive. You don't really learn to drive with an instructor. You learn how to pass a test and then you learn how to drive afterwards. And if people are inspired and they want a more fulfilling life, then we need more. Not this confinement of come and do this and follow the crowd and all do the same thing and wear the same clothes and read the same books and do the same class and take on the same information, irrelevant of whether it's relevant to your life or not. And this is very often what we can just get led into. We're going back to living on autopilot. We're just doing what we're told, following the steps without ever questioning, is this actually what I want to do? Is this actually what I want to learn? So part of this for me, to live a happy life, is about being able to embrace your passion. Imagine this now, and this is what I'm going to come on to, the 4 levels of learning. Like, imagine someone trying to get me to deliver a training now on car mechanics. 1, I haven't got a clue about it. 2, I couldn't give a shit about it. 2, I'm not interested in it or passionate about it. So why am I going to sit down and do the test on how to fix I don't even know what a part of a car is. Cam belt, is that what they're called? Engine, there you go. Oil filter. Why am I going to learn to do that? Why am I going to feel inspired? Why is it going to put my head in a good place? I'm not passionate about it. Ask me to talk about mindset, I'm here all day. Why are people trying to learn golf when they don't even like golf? Following the crowd, it's what I said. So I urge you to embrace the uncertainty of following your passion and finding out what that is. And when you do, you'll find everything will become easier. Now, as I said, school doesn't teach personal development, success, prosperity, mindset. And I think that's a key reason why so many people struggle. How many people have come into this? Like, I didn't even know anything about personal development really until 2013. Fuck me, if I'd known what I know now when I was 16, I reckon I could say without shadow of a doubt I would be on a different league of a human. I would have a huge business. This would have multiplied and never would have struggled with my mental health. I'd be a multi-millionaire. I'd have impacted thousands and thousands and thousands more people than I have. But I didn't know anything about it. And this is what we're going to come into the levels of learning. Many people don't even know about the things that they don't know about. Now that is a tongue twister. So, as I said, you know, what would have been important to me at 14 years old to help me with how I was feeling? Was it French? History? Geography? No, it would have been understanding mindset, personal development, growth, contribution. And this is again sometimes why I do feel sorry for a lot of kids, because they're, especially kids who have ADHD, because they're seen as naughty, because they get distracted, because they're not paying attention. They're not paying attention because they're not fucking interested in French. They're not passionate about it. It doesn't inspire them. It doesn't make them want to do the work. And that's what we need to find, whether it's at that young age or where you are now. If you want to effortlessly get results in life, if you want to feel happy every day, if you want to bounce out of bed with a smile on your face and energy, you have to find what you love. And as we've said, the world operates on two levels: growth and contribution. And in my opinion now, with the amount of information out there, there is no excuse for not investing in yourself. If you're unhappy, there's no excuse for not working on yourself. There's no excuse for not trying to find the information to help you. Unless, of course, you're sat here and you're saying, do you know what? I'm completely happy and fulfilled in every single area of life. If not, hats off to you. I'm definitely not. So let's move on. How do we really learn? This blew my head. Learning this blew my head. 4 stages of learning. And learning is basically how we master any skill. That first one is the one that I've talked about. And this is what Peter's taught me. Unconscious incompetence. So we're not even aware of what it is that we don't know. Me before personal development, I wasn't even aware of it. I wasn't aware of how to handle anxiety, stress, worry, overwhelm, grief, not being loved as a child. I didn't even know those answers were out there. I didn't know there were courses. I didn't know there were books. I don't think I'd even heard the word mindset. So I didn't even know, I wasn't even aware of what it is that I didn't know. As I said, until 2014, I had no idea about anything to do with mindset, motivation, positivity, the law of attraction, or anything else in between. I'd been in the dark for 34 years old. For 34 years, completely in the dark. I'd been unconsciously incompetent for 34 years. In 2002, I was an exceptional personal trainer in the top 1% of the UK after doing the National Academy of Sports Medicine qualification. Yet I didn't have a single clue about nutrition. I didn't have a single clue about nutrient timing for muscle growth. I knew nothing about nutrition. I just trained hard and knew everything about being a personal trainer. I wasn't even aware of the nutrition stuff. I was unconsciously incompetent. And then we become, the second stage is consciously incompetent. This is where 95% of most people are. They know the importance of doing mindset work. They know the importance of tracking food. They know the importance of going to the gym. They know the importance of not drinking every weekend. But they still haven't really got a clue how to handle the situation. They don't know where to get started. They don't know who to listen to. There's too much information out there. Brain overload. Nutrition's the biggest one. How many different diet plans are there? How is someone who's consciously incompetent supposed to know which one to pick? It's impossible, so they don't know where to start. So guess what? They don't. Then we get where I believe you guys are, which is consciously competent. You're all here, you know what to do, and the high percentage of you are doing it. You know you need to do the mindset work, so you do it. You know you need to track food, so you do it. You know you need to work on yourself every day, so you do it. You know you need a morning routine, so you do it. You know what to do, and you're doing the work. And then you come to the mastery stage, which is unconsciously competent. You do it without even thinking about it. Best example for this is an elite level swimmer. Do they dive in the swimming pool and think about how they need to swim, how they need to move their arms, how they move their legs, the best way to dive? No, they're just unconsciously competent. They don't even think about it. Most of us are unconsciously competent at driving cars. Okay, so I'm unconsciously competent with nutrition. I don't even need to use MyFitnessPal. I can look at a plate and I know exactly what's on it. I could guess within 5 grams of all the macronutrients and all the calories. Memory-wise, would I still need to use it if I was being really strategic? Yeah, because I'd probably forget what I had for lunch. But I don't need to do it looking at a plate. You know, something like, what else would be another great example? Golfers, ice skaters. Does a professional ice skater get on the rink and think about how to ice skate? Skiers, do they put their boots on and think, right, shit, how do I parallel turn again? No, they just ski. So the stage where most people quit is stage 2, which is the consciously incompetent. So they know what they need to do, but they're not really doing it, or they don't know where to start, or they're not confident in it. So because they don't know what to do, because they're not competent, because there's so many different options that lead to procrastination, because we're anxious because we don't know what to do, that's when those emotions then come on board. Overwhelm, stress, procrastination, fear. What do all of those things lead to? What does overwhelm lead to? Inaction. What does procrastination mean? Inaction. What does fear stop you doing? Taking action. So they try to learn and learn and learn and learn and learn. And then they do nothing. We're back to that situation. We've gathered all this information. We've signed up to the courses. We've got the nutrition plan. We've got the training plan. We've got 25 mindset books on Audible, but we've not completed one of them. Hands up if you've done that. The amount of books I've got on there that I haven't listened to or haven't completed or I've started is ridiculous. So another reason, again, why we fail in this period or we quit is because it triggers the fear that we're not good enough again. We're not enough. We're not strong enough. We're not clever enough. We don't understand it. So many people do this at the beginning of a plan. I sign up, I pay the money, I invest, I've got the nutrition plan. Within a week, they're struggling. It triggers the fear. I'm not good enough. This is why you leave the WhatsApp group. Everyone else is smashing it. Everyone else is better than me. Everyone else is ahead of me. I'm not good enough. That triggers my innermost fear. I don't like it. I'm going to go and run away and hide. It's what people do. So how do we get through this and not quit? How do we stop the excuses? How do we stop suddenly saying the stuff like, I'm not cut out for this? How do we stop quitting when we're so close to success. We've got to embrace the discomfort. Because the reason why people quit is because they start to believe they can't do it. That is the number one reason. Why else would you quit? We're back to the human needs of certainty and uncertainty. If you knew you were going to achieve it, you weren't going to quit. You don't think you're going to achieve it because you've experienced those emotions, because you're consciously incompetent, and it triggers this innermost fear that you're not good enough, that everyone else is better than you, so it's easier just to quit. Because then we get to avoid that feeling. Then we get to avoid that feeling of failure. But we have to embrace the discomfort. We have to embrace the tough weeks. We have to embrace the pain, the stress, the anxiety, the worry, the overwhelm. Lean into it. If you are experiencing those emotions, good. It shows you're alive. It shows you're trying. It shows you're working. If you're experiencing struggle with learning, great. It shows you're trying. Because tough situations build tough people. Going through discomfort is what leads to success. You guys know this. The universe works that way. We're back to growth and contribution. You either get the discomfort of going to the gym or you get the discomfort of not being able to walk up the stairs without getting out of breath. Both options are uncomfortable. One option leads to a happier, healthier, longer life with more confidence, prosperity, fulfillment, and happiness. One, avoiding the discomfort leads to more weight gain, more breathlessness, less confidence, unhappier life. But we have to stop avoiding tough. We have to stop quitting when it gets difficult. We have to stop quitting when we experience temporary failure. When we have tough days, tough weeks, tough periods, we all have them. As I've said personally, guess what? This last month has felt chaotic, felt like a crisis at one point. Guess what? Now it's all handled and I'm moving forward again. But you have to move through those periods. You can't quit every time it gets difficult. You can't stop doing the course every time you don't understand one of the modules. You can't stop the run every time your knee starts to hurt a little bit. You can't stop every time you experience pain, personal pain, pain in relationships, pain in life, the pain of exercise, because pain is your friend and going through it is what gets results. Pain lets you know you're alive. And you'll never succeed without a certain amount of pain. You'll never succeed without discomfort. You'll never succeed without failure, without frustration, without stress, without overwhelm. So as I said, going back to the number one reason people quit is temporary failure, or because it wasn't a straight line, or because there was a bend in the river, or because they faced challenge, or because they decided the ladder was up against the wrong wall. But every time we're experiencing this failure, this challenge, this overwhelm, lean into it. And just keep working through those stages of learning. Because when you go from being unconsciously incompetent to realizing, I know something needs to change and now I'm aware of what needs to happen. Now I'm moving into conscious incompetence. I'm doing something about it, but I'm not very good at stuff and I'm tough and I'm struggling. Okay? Then we get to that next stage. Okay, I'm consciously competent. I'm getting better at running. I'm getting better at tracking food. I'm doing my morning routine. I've gone through those 2 stages of learning and now I'm getting good at the stuff that I need to do to move forward until I move into that final stage where this has just become my lifestyle. I don't have to think about my morning routine. I don't have to think about the gym. I don't have to think about tracking food, doing mindset, journaling, gratitude, or any of those things, because I've become unconsciously competent. And that is the level of self-mastery. And an amazing book. Again, like I said, this stuff isn't new, guys. 2012, Mastery by Robert Greene, with an E on the end, Greene, is another incredible read for you guys. So figure out where you are in those levels. Where do I need to improve? Where do I need to upscale? And am I really struggling? Do I really want to go backwards? Are any of these problems real? Or have I just got to a stage where I'm experiencing a little bit of temporary failure and I'm actually 3 feet from gold? And if I can just push through this period and not quit because I've got frustrated and because it's got tough, and I can keep moving forwards through the difficult times, that is what is going to lead to the life of fulfillment, success, progress, prosperity, and everything you've always wanted. Guys, I love you all. Stay unbreakable. Have a phenomenal day.